Alright guys, Grandma Shannon again, and my book helper Amy, and we are still reading this book about reptiles and amphibians, and look at that. Today we're going to start off reading about rattlesnakes. Now in Wyoming, rattlesnakes are very common, and they're also very poisonous, so you don't want to go near them. When when they're disturbed, rattlesnakes vibrate the rattles on their tails loudly. But they are quiet when hunting, and they strike rodents or birds swiftly and inject poison with their long fangs. Where to find? Rattlesnakes live in many places, from deserts to grasslands to forests and even wetlands. See, they live all over this country. What to look for? Size. They can be 15 to 90 inches long. So 90 inches is pretty long. That'd be a snake that was longer than your pickup truck. That's a big snake. But even the little tiny baby ones can still bite you, so don't mess with them. Color. They're usually tan, gray, yellowish, or reddish with darker patches, diamonds, or bands. And the most common ones around here are the ones that are called the diamondback rattlesnakes. Rattlesnakes have thick bodies, blunt round heads, and slender necks. Behavior. With their heat-sensing pits in their face, they find prey in the dark. Rattlesnakes use their rattles to warn larger animals, including humans, that they are nearby. So they only rattle because they want you to go away and leave them alone. If they're going to strike you, they're not going to rattle first. A young rattlesnake's tail has only one knob. A new section is added each time the snake sheds its skin. You guys know about snakes shedding their skin, don't you? All right. The alligator. American alligators have broad snouts, heavy heads, and raised scales along their backs. In some areas, alligators dig ponds to make sure there's open water during the dry season. So, they're kind of like beavers. They can make their own little ponds. American alligators live in freshwater wetlands in the warm southeast parts of the United States. So, you're going to find them down here in the south, in Florida, Louisiana, Georgia, that kind of area. Lots of alligators in Florida. American alligators can grow over 16 feet long. So that's like if you took 3 dads and stood them, one on top of each other's shoulders. That's how big that would be. But they are usually smaller. Adult American alligators usually black with lighter colored bellies. Other features. An alligator has a second set of eyelids to act as goggles when underwater. Behavior. Adults bellow loudly during the breeding season to attract a mate. I can honestly say I've never actually heard an alligator bellowing. But luckily, we don't have to worry about them being in this area. The jawline of an alligator seems to give the reptile a permanent smile. See, look. He looks like he's smiling at you, doesn't he? Waiting for prey, alligators often float in the water with only their eyes, ears, and nose above the water. See? There's his eyes. There's his nose. Just poking out of the water. The crocodile. Now, people often get crocodiles and alligators mixed up. American crocodiles are much rarer than American alligators. Crocodiles have scaly skin, long snouts, large, powerful tails that propel them through the water. Now, see, if you look, the crocodile has kind of a long, skinny nose. The alligator has a short, round nose. An American alligator snout is broad. The American crocodiles have a narrower snout. Where to find them? American crocodiles live in lagoons and mangrove swamps in southern Florida and the Southern Keys. So just this little tiny area in America you can find crocodiles. Crocodiles can be over 16 feet long. So that means they're even bigger than alligators. Adults are brownish gray to olive. That's kind of green. The young are light with dark markings. Other features, like the alligator, the American crocodile has a second set of eyelids. Behavior. Crocodiles are sometimes noisy, but not as noisy as alligators. Unlike alligators, American crocodiles usually live in salty water. That means they're going to be closer to the ocean. All right. Mud puppy. He's kind of cute. This guy's called a mud puppy. And he is an amphibian. Now, you guys know the difference between amphibians and reptiles is that amphibians lay their eggs in water and they have to go through stages. You've seen frogs that start off as tadpoles. A baby snake will always look like a snake, but an amphibian has to change from one form to another, and they have to start off in water. The mud puppy is a kind of amphibian called a salamander. Most salamanders hatch in water, yet spend their adult lives on land. The mud puppy, however, never leaves the water. Where to find them? Mud puppies live in ponds, lakes, streams, and rivers. But their dark shapes are hard to see in the water. And you see they live up here kind of in the Great Lakes area. We got Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, along the Mississippi River there. Okay. A mud puppy is 8 to 16 inches long. Okay, well that's longer than I thought. So that'd be like from the tip of your fingers up to your elbow. Those are pretty big. Mud puppies are gray, brown, or black. Most have dark spots. Other features, they have long, slim bodies and paddle-shaped tails to help them swim. Behavior. A female mud puppy lays up to 190 eggs. She sticks these eggs on rocks or logs and guards them until they hatch. The mud puppy is also known as the water dog. Look, it's got this little fluffy thing around its neck. It's called those names because people once thought those animals could bark. I'm not even going to ask why they thought that. In warm, muddy water, warm, muddy water, mud puppies have bushy red gills. Clear, cool water, the gills look much smaller. Okay, so those are their gills. That's how they breathe underwater, just like fish. The tiger salamander. Now, those are something we have around here. Those are fairly common around here. Tiger salamander belongs to a group called mole salamanders because they dig burrows like moles do. I think they have to because they have to hibernate in the wintertime. Where to find them? Adults live underground, under rocks or logs. In the spring, the larvae, that's like the babies, like the tadpoles, and mating adults live in ponds. So you can see they live over most of the United States, and they definitely do live in this area. They are 6 to 13 inches long, so maybe the size of your hand, maybe, a little bit bigger than that. Tiger salamanders are usually dark with light spots or stripes. Some are brownish with dark spots. Other features, they have rib-like grooves along the sides of their bodies. Behavior, they eat mostly other animals that are small enough for them to swallow. They mostly eat bugs and probably tiny fish. The tiger salamander is one of the largest salamanders that lives on land. Field notes. The tiger salamander looks like axolotls. Salamanders often are kept as pets. See, that's the axolotls, but they don't live around here. Okay. The eastern newt, also an amphibian. A newt, which is a kind of salamander, starts its life in the water. The adult eastern newt also lives mainly in water, but may spend several years on land before it becomes an adult. Where to find them? Adult newts live in ditches, ponds, and lakes. Some young newts live on shady forest floors. Size. The eastern newt is 2 to 5 inches long, so it could easily fit in the palm of your hand. It is olive green with a yellow belly. Some newts have red spots or stripes. It is lizard-like in shape with a blunt round head and a flattened tail, but it is actually an amphibian. Newts eat worms, slugs, insects, and crustaceans, which means like little shrimps or crabs and stuff like that. Newts are less slimy than other salamanders and have rough skin. All newts have poisonous skin. Some have bright colors that warn other animals not to eat them. So, if you come across a newt, don't eat it. This is a red salamander. The red salamander belongs to the largest group of salamanders, those without lungs. These creatures breathe through their skins and the linings of their mouths. They must live in moist places, so they don't even have gills. Red salamanders live under rocks, rotten logs, moss, either near or in cool, clear streams. And see, just in this area right here. We don't have those around here. Red salamanders are 4 to 7 inches long. They are red or reddish-orange with dark spots. They have rib-like grooves along the sides of their bodies. Earthworms are the red salamander's favorite food. The red salamander looks like a poisonous eastern newt, so most animals will not eat it. Field notes: if an attacker bites off a salamander's limb, the limb will eventually grow back. So you know how some snakes can like throw their tails at other things? These guys can actually grow back an arm or a leg or a tail. That's cool. A spadefoot. Looks like a toad to me. Spadefoots are amphibians that burrow deep into the ground in dry areas. They live underground during the day to stay moist and come out at night to hunt for food, such as insects or to mate. Spadefoots live in sandy, loose soil from the grasslands to the deserts. Look for them during or after the rain. It looks like they live around this area. Spadefoots are 1.5 to 3.5 inches long, so they're really tiny. They are usually mottled gray, brown, or green. Other features: spadefoot can develop from eggs to young in just 2 weeks. Female spadefoot lay their eggs around plants in the water. Spadefoots look like toads, but they have smooth skin and cat-like eyes. A spadefoot has a spade-like growth on each back foot for digging. As it digs, it sinks slowly backwards, so it's digging the hole with its back feet as it's going into it. The narrow-mouthed frog. Some narrow-mouthed frogs live in burrows. The Great Plains narrow-mouthed frog often shares its burrow of animals such as lizards, moles, or even large spiders. You are most likely to find narrow-mouthed frogs near water, under rocks, or logs. And look, it looks like they only live kind of in the southeast, down in the real swampy areas. Narrow-mouthed frogs are the only 1 to 1.5 inches long, so they're really tiny. They vary in color. Eastern narrowmouth is brown, red, or gray. Other features: a male narrowmouth frog's throat is darker than the female's. Behavior: frogs usually hop, but narrowmouth frogs often run, and they eat ants. They are eating ants. Like all narrowmouth frogs, the eastern narrowmouth has a small, pointy head. Field notes: narrowmouth frogs use the fold of skin over the back of its head to wipe insects off its eyelids. So if the bugs are crawling on it, it'll just tip its head back. All right. A toad. We definitely have toads around here. There are many kinds of North American toads. They are all fat and round and have short legs and dry, warty skin. They have large glands behind their eyes that produce poison. Where to find them? Toads live on land but breed in water. You're most likely to find them on land on warm, rainy nights. We have toads around here. Look, they live all over North America. Toads are 2 to 7 inches long, so they'll fit in the palm of your hand. They're mottled brown or gray, often with dark spots. Toad digs burrows using the 2 spade-like growths on each of its back foot, just like the last one we read about. Behavior: many toads inflate themselves with air if they are caught. This makes it hard for predators to swallow them. Remember we read about that one snake that had a special tooth that could pop those? The toad, like some frogs, has a pouch of skin called a vocal sac under its mouth that fills with air and helps it to croak loudly. Some people think that you can catch warts from catching a toad, but this is not true. Pickerel and leopard frogs. Pickerel and leopard frogs are closely related and look like each other. They are spotted with two light-colored ridges running down their backs. See the ridge right there? Where to find them? Pickerel and leopard frogs usually live in and around water and come out at night to feed, and they live most of the United States. They are 2 to 5 inches long. They are green, brown, with dark spots like a leopard. The spots form bands on their back legs. Pickerel and leopard frogs have long back limbs and slightly pointed snouts. In summer, they may wander from water looking for food or new homes. The pickerel and leopard frogs look alike, but the leopard frog above has rounder spots than the pickerel frog, which has square spots. Okay. Pickerel frogs has poisonous skin. Their brightly colored undersides warn animals to stay away. The bullfrog. The bullfrog is the largest frog in North America. It lives in water and has webbed toes on its back feet. It has well-known deep call that sounds like juggarum. Okay. Bullfrogs, and we have bullfrogs around here. Bullfrogs hunt for food among plants, the edge of water, look for them near ponds or ditches. Bullfrogs can grow up to 8 inches long, so that's pretty big for a frog. They're greenish or brownish. Some have gray or brown net-like patterns on their backs. Their smooth backs have no ridges. Bullfrogs will eat most other animals that are smaller than themselves, including other frogs. Male bullfrogs, such as this one, have huge eardrums. That's what those spots are. Those are their ears behind their eyes. For sharp hearing, the females have smaller eardrums. Bullfrogs are noisy. You can hear a chorus of croaking bullfrogs up to 1/4 mile away. The chorus frog. Chorus frogs are often heard but rarely seen. They gather in large numbers and call out creak, which sounds like fingernail being dragged across the teeth of a comb. Where to find them? If you're lucky, you may catch sight of a chorus frog in their pond or swamp during the springtime, and they live in most of North America. Chorus frogs are only about 3/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches long, so they're very tiny. They are brown with 2 or 3 dark stripes of rows or spots down their backs. Most have small, round toe tips. Chorus frogs stop calling and run for cover if you come too close to them. Chorus frogs call loudly despite their tiny size because they have huge vocal sacs. A spring peeper is a kind of chorus frog. It has an X on its back. It has toe pads to help it grip onto plants. All right, and that's it. Thanks for listening, guys.